My name is Olivia Chen. I was 29 years old, a graphic designer living in Seattle with a small apartment, a successful freelance career, and absolutely no intention of ever getting involved with organized crime. But life doesn't care about your intentions. I was working late at a downtown coffee shop, headphones in, focused on finishing a logo design for a client. The place was nearly empty, just me, the barista cleaning up, and two men in expensive suits sitting in the corner booth. I didn't pay attention to them, not until I got up to use the restroom and walked past their table at the exact moment one of them said, "The prosecutor dies tomorrow. Make it look like an accident." I froze. They didn't notice me, too focused on their conversation, on the photographs they were passing back and forth. Photos of a woman, a prosecutor, with her address, her schedule, her routine marked in red. I should have kept walking, should have minded my own business, but I made eye contact with one of them for just a second too long, and his expression changed. "You," he said, standing. "What did you hear?" "Nothing. I wasn't listening." The other man stood too, and I saw the gun holstered under his jacket, saw the cold calculation in his eyes as he assessed whether I was a threat. I ran. Made it out of the coffee shop, into the street, fumbling for my phone to call 911. The dispatcher's voice was calm and professional as I gasped out what I'd heard, where I was, that these men were planning to kill someone. Police arrived within minutes, found the men still in the coffee shop, cool and collected, claiming I'd misunderstood their conversation. They were businessmen discussing a hostile corporate takeover, nothing more. No weapons visible, no evidence of criminal intent. But I'd given the police enough details that they took me seriously, brought me to the station, connected me with the FBI. And that's when I learned that the two men I'd overheard were associates of Vincent Moretti, one of the most powerful crime bosses on the West Coast. The prosecutor they'd been planning to kill. She was set to testify in a RICO case against Moretti's organization, a case that would put him away for decades if it succeeded. And I was the only person who could corroborate her testimony with what I'd heard. "You'll need to testify," FBI agent Morrison told me, "and that means witness protection until the trial." "For how long?" "The trial is in 6 weeks. After that, if Moretti is convicted, you should be safe to resume your normal life." "Should be safe, not will be, not guaranteed." "And if I don't testify?" "Then a prosecutor dies, a dangerous criminal goes free, and you spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder wondering if Moretti's people remember you as a loose end." So that's how Olivia Chen died, or at least how she stopped existing. My apartment was packed up by federal agents. My clients were told I had a family emergency and would be out of contact. My life in Seattle ended. And my new life as Sarah Miller began in a safe house in Montana, under the protection of US Marshal Lucas Grant, who was, inconveniently, the most attractive man I'd ever met in my life. Lucas Grant was 34, 6'2", with dark hair that was slightly too long for regulation and gray eyes that seemed to see everything. He'd been a marshal for 8 years, specialized in witness protection, and had a reputation for being absolutely professional, completely competent, and entirely by the book. "Miss Chen," he said when we met at the FBI field office, "I'm Marshal Grant. I'll be your primary protection officer for the duration of your stay in witness security." "How long is the duration?" 6 weeks until trial, possibly longer depending on the verdict and threat assessment. He held open a door, gesturing for me to go first. "I know this is overwhelming. I'll explain everything as we travel." The safe house was a cabin in rural Montana, isolated, secure, equipped with surveillance systems and reinforced doors. It was also surprisingly comfortable, with modern appliances, decent furniture, and a view of mountains that would have been beautiful if I wasn't terrified. "You'll stay here until the trial," Lucas explained, doing a security sweep of the property. "I'll be with you at all times. No phone calls, no internet access, no contact with anyone from your previous life. Those are the rules, non-negotiable." "At all times?" I asked, You're going to be here constantly. There's a second bedroom. I'll give you privacy, but I'm not leaving the property. Your safety is my only priority. Great. 6 weeks trapped in a cabin with a devastatingly handsome federal marshal who viewed me as a job responsibility. This wouldn't be awkward at all. The first week was the hardest. I'd gone from a busy, independent life to complete isolation. No work, no friends, no distractions except books and the stunning marshal who barely spoke except to ask if I needed anything. "Do you always do this?" I asked one evening. We were eating dinner, takeout he'd picked up from a town 30 miles away, maintaining security protocols. "Protect witnesses." "It's my job." "No, I mean, do you always live with them, for weeks at a time?" "When the threat level is high enough, yes." He glanced at me. "Is my presence making you uncomfortable?" "No, it's not that. It's just lonely, I guess. You're here, but you're so professional that it's like being alone." Something flickered in his expression. "I'm sorry. I know this is difficult, but maintaining professional boundaries is essential to doing my job effectively." "Right, professional boundaries." I picked at my food. "Can I ask you something personal, or is that against protocol?" "Depends on the question." "Why did you become a marshal?" He was quiet for a long moment. "My sister witnessed a robbery when she was 19, gang-related. She testified and the gang retaliated. Shot at our house, threatened our family, made our lives hell for months." He looked at his hands. "The marshals protected us, gave us new identities, relocated us, saved our lives. I wanted to be the person who does that for others." "Is your sister okay?" "She's safe, living under a new name somewhere I can't even know about. That's how thorough witness protection is. I can't contact her, can't visit, can't know anything about her new life." He met my eyes. "It works, Olivia. The system works. You'll be safe." Even from Vincent Moretti. Especially from him. As days turned into weeks, the professional distance between us started to blur. Lucas remained completely appropriate, but we talked more. About his career, my art, books we both loved, the lives we'd lived before this cabin became our shared prison. "Show me your work," he said one afternoon. I'd mentioned my graphic design, and he'd actually seemed interested. "I don't have my portfolio. It's all digital, and we don't have internet." "You could draw something. There's paper, pencils. Show me what you do." So I sketched the view from the cabin window, the mountains, the way the light hit the trees. He watched, fascinated, and when I finished, he studied the drawing like it was something precious. "You're incredibly talented," he said quietly. "It's just a sketch." "It's beautiful." He looked at me then, really looked at me, and the air between us changed. Charged, dangerous in a completely different way than Morty's threats. "Lucas," I whispered. He stepped back immediately. "I should check the perimeter, make sure the surveillance system is functioning properly." He left, and I sat there with my sketch and the undeniable truth that I was falling for my protector. Week 3 brought a shift. Lucas remained professional, but I caught him watching me, not with his usual vigilant protection, but with something softer, something that mirrored what I felt. "This is a bad idea," I said one evening. We were sitting on the cabin's porch, watching the sunset. I'd finally worked up the courage to address the tension. "What is?" "This, whatever's happening between us. You said it yourself, professional boundaries are essential." "They are. But you feel it too, don't you?" He was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "Yes, I feel it. And you're right, it's a terrible idea. You're vulnerable, isolated, dependent on me for protection. Any relationship that developed under these circumstances would be built on an unequal power dynamic and trauma bonding. So we ignore it. We have to." He stood, moving to the railing, putting distance between us. "In 3 weeks, you'll testify. After that, you'll go back to your real life. You'll be Olivia Chen again, back in Seattle, rebuilding your career, and I'll move on to the next witness." "Is that what you want?" "What I want doesn't matter. What matters is keeping you safe and getting you through this trial with your life intact." But that night, everything changed. I woke to Lucas's hand covering my mouth, his voice urgent and low. "Don't scream. Stay quiet. There are men outside." Terror flooded through me. "How?" "I don't know, but we need to move. Now." He'd already packed an emergency bag, clothes, cash, fake IDs, weapon. We slipped out through the back, into the forest behind the cabin, as flashlight beams swept through the windows we'd just abandoned. "How did they find us?" I whispered as we ran. "Someone talked, or there's a leak. It doesn't matter right now. We just need to get somewhere safe." We ran for miles through the forest, Lucas leading the way with absolute certainty even in the darkness. When we finally stopped, hidden in a dense grove of trees, I was shaking. "What do we do now?" "We can't go back to the cabin. Can't contact my office until I know who leaked your location." He pulled out a burner phone. "I have emergency protocols for this. Safe houses even my supervisors don't know about. We'll lie low until I can verify who's trustworthy." "So it's just us." "Just us." The emergency safe house was an old hunting cabin, even more remote than the first location. No electricity, no running water, just a roof and 4 walls and 2 people who'd nearly died. "I'm sorry," Lucas said as we settled in. He'd built a fire, boiled water from a nearby stream, made the place as comfortable as possible. "This isn't how protection is supposed to work." "You saved my life, again." I wrapped my arms around myself. "I'm terrified, Lucas." "I know, but I promise you I will keep you safe, no matter what." "Why?" The question burst out before I could stop it. "Why does it matter so much to you? Is it just the job?" At first, yes, it was just the job. Another witness to protect, another case to close. He moved closer, firelight flickering across his face. But somewhere between week 1 and week 3, it stopped being just a job. You stopped being just a witness. "Lucas, I know all the reasons this is wrong. I know the professional ethics, the power imbalance, the trauma bonding. I know that in 3 weeks you'll be gone and I'll hate myself for crossing this line." He reached out, his hand hovering near my face. "But I'm going to cross it anyway, if you want me to." I closed the distance between us. "I want you to." He kissed me like he'd been holding back for weeks, which he had. All that professional distance, all that careful control, it shattered in an instant. I kissed him back with equal desperation, equal need, equal certainty that this was simultaneously the worst and best decision we could make. "This doesn't change anything," he said when we finally broke apart. "I'm still your protector. Your safety is still my only priority." "I know. But when this is over, when you're safe and you've testified and the trial is done," he cupped my face in his hands. "I want to know you, the real you, not the witness I'm protecting, but Olivia Chen, graphic designer from Seattle, if you'll let me." "What if I don't want to go back to that life?" "What do you mean?" "What if being Olivia Chen in Seattle stopped feeling like home? What if the person I am here with you feels more real than the life I left behind?" "Olivia, I'm not saying that because you're protecting me or because I'm traumatized. I'm saying it because for the first time in years, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." I kissed him again, softer this time. "Even if where I'm supposed to be is a hunting cabin in Montana, running from assassins with a federal marshal who broke protocol for me." He laughed, the sound rusty like he didn't do it often enough. "When you put it that way, it sounds insane." "It is insane, all of it, but I don't care." We spent the night talking, planning, strategizing. Lucas used his burner phone to make careful, coded contact with colleagues he absolutely trusted, arranged secure communication channels, verified that the leak had been identified, a clerk in the FBI office who'd been bribed by Morty's organization. "They're shutting down the whole network," Lucas explained. "Morty's people won't be able to track you again, but we still need to stay here until trial, just to be safe." "How long?" 2 weeks. Then we transport you to the courthouse under maximum security." 2 weeks. 14 days in this cabin with Lucas. 14 days where professional boundaries didn't exist, and we could just be 2 people who'd found something unexpected in the middle of danger. It was the best 2 weeks of my life. The trial was everything I'd feared. Federal courthouse in Seattle, maximum security, armed guards everywhere. I testified for 3 hours, describing what I'd overheard in the coffee shop, identifying the men from photographs, corroborating the prosecutor's case. Morty's lawyer tried to discredit me. Suggested I'd misheard, misunderstood, fabricated the whole story for attention. But I held firm, telling the truth exactly as I remembered it. When it was over, Lucas escorted me out of the courthouse, back to a secure location to wait for the verdict. "You did amazing," he said in the car. "Your testimony was clear, credible, compelling. The jury believed you." "What happens now?" "Now we wait. Verdict could come in a few hours or a few days. Once Morty's convicted, the threat level drops significantly, and you can resume your normal life." Resume your normal life. Go back to Seattle, to freelance design work, to the apartment that had been maintained by the FBI during my absence. Go back to being Olivia Chen. Without Lucas. "What if I don't want to?" I asked quietly. "Don't want to what?" "Resume my normal life. Go back to how things were before." He glanced at me, something complicated in his expression. "Olivia, you have to understand. What happened between us in Montana, it was intense and real, but it was also under extraordinary circumstances. When you're back in your regular life, with your friends and your work and your routine, you might feel differently. You think what I feel is just Stockholm Syndrome or trauma bonding. I think you've been through something incredibly stressful, and I was the constant in a very unstable situation. That creates bonds that feel deeper than they are. Is that what you think? That what you feel isn't real?" "I think," he pulled the car over, turning to face me fully. "I think I've never felt this way about anyone in my entire life. I think these past 6 weeks have been the best and most terrifying of my career. I think I'm in love with you, and I have no idea if that's real or if it's just proximity and danger making me feel things that won't survive normal life. So we find out." "How?" "We try. After the trial, after Morty's convicted, after I'm officially out of protection, we try. Date like normal people. See if what we feel survives when there's no cabin, no threats, no forced isolation. And if it doesn't survive, then at least we'll know. But Lucas, I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think we're real. I think this is real. And I think it's worth finding out." He kissed me then, right there in the government vehicle in a secure parking structure. Kissed me like I was something precious he'd been afraid he'd lose. "Okay," he said when we finally broke apart. "We try." The verdict came 3 days later, guilty on all counts. Vincent Moretti was sentenced to 40 years in federal prison. His organization was dismantled. The threat against me was officially eliminated. I was free. 6 months later, I was still living in Seattle, but my apartment had changed. Lucas's badge and gun were on the table by the door. His clothes were in my closet. His presence had become the new normal. We'd tried the normal dating thing. Dinners at restaurants where we weren't hiding. Movies in public theaters. Meeting each other's friends, the ones I still had who didn't know I'd been in witness protection. It turned out that what we felt in Montana wasn't trauma bonding or Stockholm Syndrome or any of the things we'd worried about. It was just love. Real, solid, survive-anything love. "I have something to tell you," Lucas said one evening. We were cooking dinner together in my apartment. Our apartment, really, since he'd basically moved in 3 months ago. That sounds ominous. I put in for a transfer, out of witness protection. My heart sank. "Why? I thought you loved that work." "I do, but there's a conflict of interest now. If I stay in WITSEC, I'll constantly be in situations like I was with you, isolated with vulnerable people, protecting them through trauma. And now that I know what it's like to actually fall for someone I'm protecting, I can't do that job ethically anymore. Lucas, you can't give up your career because of me." I'm transferring to fugitive tracking. Same agency, different focus. Still important work, still helping people, but no more month-long protection details. He pulled me close. "I don't regret what happened with us, not for a second, But I never want to be in a situation where I could compromise someone else's safety because I'm emotionally involved. So I'm choosing a different path. What if I told you that's incredibly romantic and also completely impractical? I'd say you're probably right, but I'm doing it anyway. He kissed my forehead. You changed my life, Olivia Chen. Not just because I fell in love with you, but because you reminded me why I do this work. It's not about following protocols or maintaining professional distance. It's about protecting people, caring about them, making sure they get to live the lives they deserve. The life I deserve involves you in it. Good, because the life I deserve involves you too. We got married a year later. Small ceremony, just close friends and Lucas's sister, who he'd finally been able to contact again after years of separation due to her own witness protection. She cried through the whole ceremony, happy that her brother had found someone who understood the cost of the work he did. My work changed too. I still did graphic design, but I also started volunteering with organizations that helped witnesses transition back to normal life after protection. I understood what it was like to lose your identity, to hide, to feel like you'd never be safe again. I wanted to help others navigate that journey. Do you ever regret it? Lucas asked one night. We were on the porch of a house we'd bought together, not in Montana, but close enough that we could visit those mountains that had become special to us. Testifying, going into protection, all of it. I regret being in that coffee shop at the wrong time, I admitted. I regret that people like Morty exist, but regret meeting you. Regret falling in love in a Montana cabin while running from assassins. Never. Even though I violated about 50 different protocols. Especially because you violated those protocols. You saw me as a person, not just a witness. You protected my heart as much as my life. I'd do it again, he said quietly. Every rule I broke, every line I crossed, I'd do it all again for you. Good, because I'd choose you again too, every time. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sunset paint the mountains in shades of gold and purple. Somewhere in Seattle, my old life continued without me. Somewhere in Montana, the cabin where we'd fallen in love still stood. But here, in this moment, with Lucas's hand in mine and a future stretching ahead of us, I was exactly where I was meant to be. I'd been a witness once. I'd seen something I shouldn't have, testified in court, lived through death threats and fear and isolation. But I'd also witnessed something beautiful. The moment when the marshal protecting me became the man I loved. When professional duty became personal devotion. When a 6-week assignment became a lifetime commitment. Vincent Moretti had wanted to silence me. Instead, he'd inadvertently given me the greatest gift of my life, the circumstances that led me to Lucas. Justice had been served. The bad guy was in prison. The witness was safe. And somewhere along the way, the witness and her protector had found something neither of them had been looking for. A love worth crossing every line to protect. Thank you for joining me for Witness Protection Romance. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more romantic suspense stories. Drop a comment and let me know your thoughts. Would you fall for your witness protection, Marshal? Until next time, keep reading and stay safe.